South Africa's political stage has become a focal point for debates, controversies, and critical questions about the future of governance in the country. At the center of this ongoing discussion is the African National Congress's unit deployment policy, a practice that has sparked widespread criticism, legal challenges, and political scrutiny. The Democratic Alliance, South Africa's primary opposition party, has relentlessly challenged this practice, citing its contribution to corruption and inefficiency in public administration. Today, we will delve into this contentious issue, unpack the historical roots of the policy, explore its implications, and consider what the recent court decision could mean for South Africa's future. To truly understand the magnitude of the controversy surrounding Cadre deployment, it is essential to first examine its origins and purpose. The policy of Cadre deployment was introduced as a strategy by the ANC to ensure that the party's vision and policies were implemented across all levels of government and public institutions. After the fall of apartheid, the ANC emerged as the dominant political force tasked with rebuilding a fractured society. The concept of Cadre deployment was viewed as a mechanism to place party loyalists in key positions, ensuring the seamless execution of transformative policies aimed at addressing decades of inequality, poverty, and systemic oppression. In theory, this approach might sound like a logical method for a ruling party to consolidate its reforms and advance its agenda. But over the years, this policy has become one of the most divisive aspects of the ANC's governance. Critics argue that Cadre deployment has often prioritized loyalty to the party over competence, creating an environment ripe for inefficiency, corruption, and the erosion of merit-based governance. This policy has repeatedly come under fire, with its critics highlighting its role in state capture, maladministration, and the decline of key public institutions. The Zondo Commission of Inquiry, established to investigate allegations of state capture during former President Jacob Zuma's administration, brought Cadre deployment into sharp focus. The commission revealed how the policy was allegedly used to appoint individuals who facilitated the looting of state resources for personal and political gain. Testimonies and evidence presented during the inquiry underscored how this practice contributed to the collapse of vital institutions, such as Eskom, South African Airways, and Transnet. These findings fueled calls for an end to Cadre deployment, sparking a heated national debate about its legitimacy and impact. In recent years, the Democratic Alliance has been at the forefront of the campaign to abolish Cadre deployment. The party argues that the policy is a direct assault on principles of transparency, accountability, and meritocracy. According to DA leader John Steenhuisen, Cadre deployment entrenches a culture of cronyism, where unqualified individuals are placed in positions of power, leading to inefficiency, poor service delivery, and diminished public trust. Steenhuisen's remarks have resonated with many South Africans who feel disillusioned by the government's inability to address pressing issues such as unemployment, corruption, and failing infrastructure. The DA's legal efforts to challenge Cadre deployment recently culminated in a significant court ruling against the ANC. The court dismissed the ruling party's attempt to overturn a decision that declared certain aspects of Cadre deployment unconstitutional. This outcome represents a major victory for the DA and adds to the ANC's mounting legal setbacks. It also reinforces calls for systemic reform in how government appointments are handled. Steenhuisen, in response to the ruling, called on the ANC to stop its stolen grud tactics, a term used to describe delaying strategies employed by the party in legal matters, and urged the government to prioritize merit-based appointments over political loyalty. The ANC, however, remains steadfast in defending its Cadre deployment policy. The party argues that the practice is necessary to ensure the implementation of its transformative agenda. According to ANC leaders, abandoning Cadre deployment could lead to a scenario where key institutions work against the government's objectives, undermining the party's ability to deliver on its electoral promises. This stance has sparked sharp criticism, with detractors accusing the ANC of prioritizing party interests over the nation's well-being. The recent court decision against Cadre deployment raises critical questions about the ANC's ability to adapt to changing political and legal landscapes. With the 2024 national elections fast approaching, the ruling party faces growing pressure to address internal divisions, restore public trust, and demonstrate its commitment to clean governance. Failure to do so could have significant electoral consequences, particularly as opposition parties like the DA and the economic freedom fighters continue to capitalize on public dissatisfaction with the ANC's governance. For South Africans, the issue of Cadre deployment goes beyond political maneuvering, it strikes at the heart of their daily lives. The effectiveness of public institutions, the quality of service delivery, and the overall functioning of government are all deeply intertwined with the principles of accountability and competence. As citizens grapple with issues such as rolling blackouts, water shortages, and economic stagnation, there is a growing demand for leaders who can provide tangible solutions rather than rhetoric. The recent court ruling against Cadre deployment is a step in the right direction, but it is far from the end of the road. Implementing reforms to ensure transparency and meritocracy in government appointments will require political will, institutional overhaul, and active engagement from civil society. It also calls for a shift in the political culture, where loyalty to the party is no longer valued above loyalty to the nation. As we conclude this discussion, it's clear that the debate around Cadre deployment will continue to shape South Africa's political landscape in the coming years. The outcome of this debate will not only determine the trajectory of the ANC but also influence the broader fight for accountability, transparency, and effective governance in the country. What do you think about the court's decision on Cadre deployment? Should the ANC abandon this policy, or does it still have a role to play in advancing the party's agenda? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it informative and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth discussions on South Africa's most pressing issues. Let's continue this important conversation together. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.